Hello again, thank you very much for joining us. There's a passionate plea from frontline health workers who have lost patients to COVID-19 and seen many enduring the excruciating pain of battling the disease. The health workers say they're getting overwhelmed by the rising cases of COVID-19. They tell Joy News' Matilda Gavi that caring for COVID-19 patients require painstaking, difficult procedures which can subject the entire healthcare system to serious stress.
It's a room of excited critical nurses at the East Hospital. 4 of them are getting ready to enter the ICU. Sewa Akuto is getting ready for the day's task. Inside the changing room, she is helped by other colleagues to don PPE. Wearing these protective things alone can take about 10 minutes. It's a careful, thorough process that largely saves the frontline workers from getting infected. Sewa heads for the high dependency unit. Being in this room is like hanging off a cliff. The fear of death, pain, and anxiety fill every inch of this room. There are 4 patients in dire need of help from Sewa and her colleagues. It is Sewa's turn for the 4 days, 12-hour shift. A shift that becomes strenuous when you are dealing with COVID-19. The more critically ill the patient is, the closer nurses cooperate with doctors in providing life support treatments.
Yeah, what we do is most of them, we manage their symptoms as they come. Some of them come with a low oxygen level, some come as low as 64%, at the one that I showed you. So we put them on oxygen, we give them high flow oxygen, we try to build them up, and some of them to manage their symptoms. Some come with comorbidities like diabetes and other things, so we try to manage those conditions as well. So it's a whole kind of thing. It's not just one specific thing, yeah.
Sewa moves from one patient to the other, checking monitors. Occasionally, she speaks to the patients who only nod or give thumbs up as response since they are all on ventilators. 2 of her patients are restless. 1 is gasping for air. Another nurse reaches out to one of the patients and carefully adjusts the pillows, while 2 other nurses make a dash for the oxygen cylinders. There are different life-saving activities going on at the same time. Other nurses and a doctor monitor the activities in here through a window.
So they stand outside with all our plan inside. So if we are supposed to do anything, like say give this medication, they communicate to us. We ask them, we tell them the vital signs, write this out. You're supposed to give this, and they tell us. And sometimes when you are doing something, they see from outside, they will prompt you. This thing has gone off. Can you do something about it? Okay. That's what basically they do. Okay. Yeah, that's what we all do. Okay. And then once we go in, we are not here all the time. We do come in as time is needed. So we will be standing outside and then monitoring them from at the back of the window.
The nurses leave nothing to chance, as one of them for close to 20 minutes holds an oxygen mask to the face of a patient while the oxygen is being fixed. What are you doing?
It's an oxygen, and then the system has gone down. Okay. So I'm just maintaining it, the level, so that he can take it.
So that he can become stable?
Yeah. So when they bring the other cylinder, then you can put him on it. Okay. The system, this is a central oxygen system. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And the system is down. So you can see here, it's written low oxygen flow. So they are now working on it for the system to respond, and then it will be normal. Okay.
They are confined to the steaming PPE. The only break is to lean against the wall or squat briefly in between the checks.
We are overwhelmed with the rise of COVID cases now.
Help by masking up so the cases can be reduced.
Let's try and observe the safety protocol. Health workers are overwhelmed now. We are breaking our back, so please try as much as possible to do as you are told. Mask up, wash your hands, I mean, observe the safety protocols. Help us to help you. You can see our staff strength, we are not enough. You see, we had a challenge with the oxygen now, and most of us had to don in. I had done in the morning and gone out around 12. I had to come in again. You see, I'm panting. Even as I'm talking, you can see that I'm not really in there, just moving about. So there's a lot to be done. And I don't know, the public is not, some of them think that COVID is not real, we are exaggerating, but no, COVID is real. There's a lot of cases here, we do lose some of them. So it's better to be in the comfort of your home than being in an ICU.
The long hours, the stress and anxiety that comes with treating COVID-19 patients are affecting them. Because for Sewa and her colleagues, every day at work means a fruitful exposure to the disease that has killed some of their patients.
It's really affected psychologically. Coming to work every morning, we work for 12 continuous hours for 4 days. We take 3 days off, and you are called at any time to attend to an emergency. Being a critical care nurse, you are called at any time to attend to emergencies. And so for us coming to work 12 hours, leave your family at home and come and work, and sometimes when you come, you nurse a patient, the next morning you come and the patient is no more there. It's like you've done a lot to save a life, but then the life is gone. So we are really going through a lot emotionally. We are breaking our backs. It's really affecting us a lot.
For a medic who combines administrative and clinical works like Dr. Joe Mensah, the past 2 weeks haven't been easy for his family.
Well, it's been difficult, not just for me, but for my colleagues as well. We're running longer shifts, we're running more days because of the numbers we're seeing. And for my family, I understand it's been difficult, my wife, my kids. Unfortunately, I couldn't even take my kid to school when he reopened. Because I've spent the past 2 weeks, I've practically been here every day. And for some of my colleagues, it's been the same story. We are pushed to the wall, but then we need to offer the services to our clients. So we're doing this for God, we're doing this for country and for our patients.
Psychologically, is it having a toll on you?
Yes, it's been stressful. It's been stressful. I have an appointment actually with my clinical psychologist. I should have had it yesterday. Hopefully I'll have it today because it's been stressful. And she thought I should come see her for a session. And it's important that the public know that COVID is real. A lot of people still do not believe there's COVID until it comes right to your doorstep. It affects a relative. But then do not wait to that point when you unfortunately lose a family member. COVID is real. For corporate organizations who have been supporting us, yes, we need some PPs, but we also need some toiletries to support the patients we see, food items, etc. are all welcome. So if you have any support for the fight against COVID, we are always welcome. The infectious disease center is also open, and for both facilities, we're doing our best in the fight against COVID. Come and support us. Come on board.
Sure. The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association recently reported that 4 nurses have lost their lives since the pandemic broke. 840 have also been infected. The nurses are calling for insurance packages for those infected. They also want government to reinstate the incentive packages for nurses, as some of them are yet to receive the 50% allowance announced by government since the onset of the pandemic. For Joy News, Matilda Gavi, Ga East Hospital.
Now, throughout this pandemic, the use of high-concentration alcohol in hand sanitizers has been strongly recommended. But as cases of the virus begin to increase in Ghana, a university professor says the inclusion of hydrogen peroxide in the management of the virus could potentially save many lives. A number of health professionals have agreed with the study. Now, here's how to use hydrogen peroxide, as Reverend Professor Komna Segu says it on the AM show earlier today.
So what we're recommending is that 3% is harsh. What we're recommending is for you to use just 1% to gargle. 1% meaning that if you take 1 part of the hydrogen, most of the bottles on the counters are 6%. So if you take 1 part of it, you add 5 parts of water. So let me make it simple. If you take 10 mils of hydrogen peroxide, you want to add 50 mils of warm water, lukewarm water, something you can gargle, to give you a 1%.
10 so and then add 50 mils.
Yes, so it's a 1 part in 1 part plus 5 parts. So it's a 1 part in 6 parts, which gives you a 1% from the 6% that you have. Most of the ones I've seen on the counter, I've not seen any other concentrations. I've seen 6% most of the time, bells and another one, but they are mostly 6%. So basically what we are trying to use, what we're encouraging people to use is as some sort of a prophylaxis. We're saying wear your mask, do all the things you're supposed to do. I use it when I get into meetings. I mean, Dr. Vidako, I heard him saying it. No matter how you try, there are some people around you who will not put on their mask. You try to avoid them. But sometimes you are in circumstances where all the best you can do is probably to keep your distance and not completely to avoid them. So in that case, when I think I've come into contact with people, a situation like that, then I gargle. Or we are recommending, therefore, that if you have people who have been infected living in the same house, they could then use it as a gargle just to reduce the possible chances of the virus establishing infection in the upper respiratory tract infection. There are more uses that some others have put to it, but I don't want to bring it up here because I think it probably creates more. So just
a final. I asked, what if you were to swallow in the process? You swallow this substance. What's the danger?
It can give you an irritation in your stomach because of the nature of the disease. So the idea is that the reason why we are recommending that you should reduce the concentration to 1% is to be able to take care of the possible irritation. But you are supposed to gargle and pour out. And that's why we say that you don't recommend something like that for children below a certain age because they cannot gargle. My son is 10 years old and he's learned how to gargle. He knows how to gargle. I don't make them gargle all the time, but depending on circumstances and where we've been, I sometimes make them gargle and he manages to do it. So it's a matter of gargling and throwing out. It's a matter of not giving it to children. Some are proposing below even 12 years because they are likely to swallow it. But for people who can gargle, let them gargle. There's also a recommendation there that if the person cannot gargle for a reason, maybe age or having problems swallowing, what you can actually do is to put it on some sort of a cotton bud, and then you can then swab or clean the orifices so that the person then does not have to gargle and swallow. So it depends on the circumstances and who is gargling. But let me state this. We are not saying that this is replacing everything. We are saying that it's just an addition to what is being done. And then I also should mention that we should remember that vitamin C itself, in the process of metabolism in our host, actually produces hydrogen peroxide. So it is not.
So now you know, use it right and stay safe. Away from COVID-19, 5 persons have been confirmed dead and over 20 others are in critical condition after a road accident Tuesday dawn on the Nasia Bridge near Wale in the northeast region. The commercial vehicle was loaded with 45 passengers traveling from Kumasi to Boku. Joint News correspondent Ilyasu Tanko at the scene reports the vehicle has mangled beyond recognition and that security and fire service personnel conducting rescue operations were using chisels and hammers to pull out some of the victims. The victims were taken to the Wale Hospital. Medical Superintendent Benjamin Ya Musa spoke to Ilyasu Tanko.
At about 4 a.m. this morning, we started getting casualties from the accident scene. And a total of 21 victims have been brought. Just a few of them are seriously injured. Currently, we have managed most of them. We are stable. It's only true that we are preparing to send to TTH for further management. They have sustained, their injuries are quite serious, and we need to send them, stabilize them, after that we send them further management.
How many casualties or fatalities that you have in your hospital?
For the, I think, like I said, there are 21, those who are in this one. There are 21 who were brought in. 2 of them severely injured. And I think we had about, at our mock now, we have 5 dead bodies, 3 adults and 2 kids. So that is the situation.
With 3.4 billion people still living on less than $5.50 a day, Oxfam, an anti-poverty campaigner, has warned that global poverty levels could be higher in the coming years than they were when the pandemic hit. Oxfam says many people who narrowly escaped extreme poverty could be forced back into it by the emergence of COVID-19. Isaac Kofeje has more in this report.
The World Bank earlier in 2020 projected that up to 115 million people will be pushed into extreme poverty, leaving the world with nearly 730 million people poor. The new poor, according to the bank, will probably be more urban than the chronic rural poor, more engaged in informal services and manufacturing, and less in agriculture, and possibly live in congested urban settings and work in the sectors most affected by lockdowns and mobility restrictions. Oxfam, in their recent report on income inequality, says the world's 10 richest people, including the likes of Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Warren Buffett, saw their fortunes increase by $500 billion since the crisis began, even though the global economy remains smaller than when the pandemic started a year ago. Meanwhile, Oxfam says that in the worst-case scenario, global poverty levels could be higher in the coming years than they were before the pandemic struck, with 3.4 billion people still living on less than $5.50 a day, and could take more than a decade for the world's poorest to recover their losses. Isaac Kofieje's report for Joy News.
To politics now, a clarion call has been made by leadership of the NDC to the rank and file of the party to champion the principles, ideals and success stories of the late former president in order to sustain his legendary status in Ghana's political history. Speaking at a public lecture organized by the party as part of programs leading up to the final burial ceremony of Ghana's longest-serving president, former President John Dramani Mahama, and the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Badbin, have called on intellectuals and close associates of Mr. Rawlings to uphold the principles of the late soldier and also document his history to prevent distortion. Latif Idris was there and has come through with the following report.
Alhaji Hudu Yaya recounted how himself and some student leaders joined the revolution by going to the nooks and crannies of the country to preach the words of the revolution back in the day.
June 4th was born. We were then students, final year students. We closed down the university ourselves, that we were going into the rural areas to preach revolution, even though we're writing our final year exams.
General Secretary of the Opposition NDC, Johnson Asiedun Ketia, says the current administration's posturing is gradually taking Ghana's democracy into abyss.
Levinsky spoke about other private sector institutions, and I want to believe he was referring to civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, and so on. He is saying that when you see all these institutions being bullied into silence, then that democracy is on the path to its death.
According to Speaker of Parliament Alban Badbin, Jerry John Rawlings has left at a time when Ghana is struggling with its democracy.
He exited at the time democracy is in crisis. It's not only in Ghana, but the whole world. And in fact, the supposed mother of democracy is also in crisis. So can we say that all he did, all he stood for, has come to nothing? It depends on how we gathered here carry on with the battle.
Former President John Dramani Mahama, on his part, has called on the close associates of the late former president to document his history in order to prevent what he describes as revisionism.
I dare say that with JJ's passing, the revisionists of our history will commence their work again to try and denigrate the history of his life and works. And that's why I say, unless those of us who knew him and worked with him document his life and works for posterity, the historians of the hunter will write that history.
And we continue to remember the late former President Jerry John Rawlings, who has been laid in state. He was laid in state yesterday. The general public was asked to file pass. We saw political parties from both sides, the NPP and the NDC, file pass his body yesterday. Today, starting with the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the First Lady, the Vice President and his wife, as well as the Chief of Staff and former Presidents, John Agyekum Kufuor and John Mahama. They have been filing past the body of the late former president, which has been laid in state at the Accra International Conference Center. And all that is building up to what will be the final burial or final funeral rites tomorrow at the Black Star Square, and we'll be going there shortly. These are live visuals coming to you from the Accra International Conference Center, heavily guarded, and as we've been assured by the committee and by government, reiterated by the Information Minister designate, the proceedings will be COVID compliant. Let's cross over now and speak to presidential correspondent Elton Brobe. He is there. Elton, tell us about proceedings today. We know the president has been there and other dignitaries as well. Bring us up to speed on what we've missed.
Almost done with dignitaries expected to file past the mortal remains of the former president. So at 9 a.m., President Akufo-Addo and the First Lady came in. They were followed by the Vice President of the Republic, Dr. Mohamed Bawumia, and the wife, Samira Bawumia. And then after, the former President, John Mahama, also came in together with some leading members of the NDC. And when they were done, former President John Agyekum Kufuor also came in with some family members to pay his last respect and also commiserate with the bereaved family. Then after, we had former speakers of parliament led by Edward Dowajaho, and then we had a procession of MPs, members of parliament, being led by the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Babim. They walked all the way from Parliament House to the conference center, and then together as one, they filed past the body, and then I had some moments with the wife of the late president and the children, after which they spoke to the media. For now, we've had visit also from the Chief Justice of the Republic and some high-profile dignitaries. Now, we've gotten to a stage where they've opened the doors for the general public to again pass and then pay their last respect to the former president. Those who came and those who spoke to me were of the view that this is the time for the country to preserve the legacy of the former president by working together, especially the political class. Indeed, members of parliament said that the death of the former president provides them with an opportunity to build consensus, work towards unifying the country, and put the interests of the country first. So this has been the call from members of parliament. I also had a privileged interview with former Justice of the Supreme Court, His Lordship Raymond Atiguba, who said the country belongs to the 31 million people, the 31 million population of this country. And for that reason, if the people come together, they can force change. They can get government to do exactly what they want them to do. And for him, he will continue to advocate the rule of law and ensure that people have access to basic amenities. The door is open. Now, anybody at all can come in and pay his last respect because we are done with the dignitaries. And then all is in readiness for tomorrow's big event, which will be the final funeral rites of the late president.
As the doors open for the general public to view, it's open till when, Elton?
So the plan is that by 4:30, they will close the casket, and then tomorrow it will not be laid in state here at the conference center, but rather at the Black Star Square. We are expecting some foreign dignitaries to join President Akufo-Addo and the country to mourn and then to send the former president home. I'm told that Liberian President Dodua is already in town, and they are expecting more African leaders to join in tomorrow's farewell service at the Black Star Square. So there are also some members of the diplomatic corps who are also expected to come in. But the program of activities and for the personalities who are expected today, all of them have come. And for that reason, security is relaxed here. People can have access inside, and they are cautioning against people using their mobile phones to take pictures of the mortal remains of the ex-president, something that they say they will not tolerate. And that anybody found doing that will be arrested.
Many thanks to you, Elton Brobe, for bringing us up to speed with events at the Accra International Conference Center, where the body of the late former President Terry John Rawlings has been laid in state. It's now been open to the public after the president and other high-ranking people in the country today filed past the body. Tomorrow, of course, the funeral service will be at the Blackstar Square, and we've been doing since Monday. In fact, since Sunday, we'll be bringing you a live update every step of the way right here on Joy News. You're watching News Today with me, Anas Mini. We're taking a short break. When we return, we'll bring you business. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, time for business, and businesses and consumers will soon be compelled to sign on to new insurance products as the National Insurance Commission is set to introduce a basket of compulsory insurance products. This follows the passage of the 2020 Insurance Bill, which has finally obtained the presidential assent. Now, Deputy Commissioner of Insurance Michael Ando made this revelation to Joy Business at the 2021 Chartered Insurance Institute of Ghana's investiture. We saw the Managing Director of Metropolitan Life Insurance, Teria Ben Ahmed, succeed Bishop Asante Marfo Ahinkra as the new president of the institute.
Well, there are new provisions in the Act, and they affect regulated entities and other parties, and you need to set effective dates for implementation of those provisions. So those are the transitional arrangements that need to be made for the implementation of the bill.
With regards to the bill and with what you presented to Parliament and subsequently to the President, were there any additions or deductions from what you presented?
Well, we are yet to see the final product that was passed by Parliament. You know, at the final stages, it's taken over by Parliament and they pass it and send it to the President. We are yet to see the very final product that came out. We haven't seen it yet, so I may not be able to comment at this time. But we don't expect any major differences between what we submitted and what has been passed.
Okay, so refresh our minds once again on some of the compulsory insurances you seek to implement going forward.
Well, I think the compulsory insurance on commercial commercial properties, which is already there. Some of the new ones are professional indemnity for certain professions and occupations, and public liability for certain places and certain trades and occupations.
So the new president of the CIIG, Teria Ben Ahmed, says the institute will draw some lessons from the banking sector cleanup to ensure that its members are not found culpable during the insurance sector's recapitalization process.
Thank you very much. We gave our two-year strategy Defend and Grow name, and the reason is simple. If you look at what has happened in the not too distant past, you realize that the banking sector suffered a bit of setback, where a number of banks had to lose their license. A number of banks in the banking sector had to go down, following an action of the Bank of Ghana. If you study closely the conversations around what's happened there, corporate governance, risk management, control environment emerged as some of the strong issues that emerged from there. Now, Defend and Grow, the Chartered Insurances of Ghana, is saying that the Defend bucket is saying ensure governance excellence, ensure the constitution supporting the Chartered Insurances of Ghana is fit for purpose in the changing times in which we are, and then ensure that your cash flow and investments are managed by a proper investment policy. So governance excellence will defend the Chartered Insurances of Ghana, and we want to establish a governance excellence reference point for members. We are learning from what is happening in the banking sector so that we set up and improve our governance excellence as a professional body so that our members can learn from it and do better. Because trust me, insurance is a specialized type of service. The trust of insurance is largely dependent on the quality of your governance excellence behind the business. Because you're giving, in essence, insurance is a promise to pay valid claims delightfully and a commitment to provide quality and reliable solutions and services. So if you promise to pay valid claims under a contract you have issued, trust, confidence, integrity of the business cannot be overemphasized. And that is what we are talking about as in governance excellence under the defend bucket of the defend and growth strategy.
And of course, you had Taria Ben Ahmed, who is the new president of the Chartered Insurance Institute of Ghana. That's it for business. We're taking a break now. Sports is up next.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the sports segment with me, Oriku Ampofo. We do start off with some exclusive news, and former Aston Villa and Middlesbrough midfielder George Boateng has exclusively told Joy Sports why he chose the Netherlands over Ghana. Although born in Nkoko, Boateng chose to represent Netherlands at international level and in 4 caps in total for the Orange. Now, Boateng made his international debut for the Netherlands in a 1-1 draw with Denmark in November 2001. Currently, he's the coach of Aston Villa side, that's the under-23 side, and he believes that the Black Stars and then the GFA never really made an approach during that time.
So when I was in Holland as a little kid and I started playing football, I was recognized quite early. So when I was 18, I was playing for the national team under 18. And nobody from Black Stars really saw or noticed me playing for Holland under 18's team. And then I moved to the under 21s. And those days, you were still eligible to choose and change. It's still the same actually now. So once you haven't played a senior level, you can still change. So what happened was I became captain for the national team of under 21 for Holland. But nobody really from the Black Star Federation, GFA, flew over to Holland to watch me play or send an email or a letter or an invitation or to express their interest to say that, oh, we've noticed that your parents are Ghanaian, you were born in Ghana, would you be willing to play for the national team? So that never took place. And the Dutch kind of KNVB, they never hesitated because they could see the qualities that I had, that I would be maybe a valuable player for them. So once I played for the under-21s and I was transferred from Feyenoord Rotterdam to Coventry City, I spent a year and a half at Coventry City, moved to Aston Villa. And in my second season at Aston Villa, I was called up to the national team. So you can imagine from the age of 18 until 26, right? Ghana had plenty of time to still send an invitation, to still ask whether I would like to play for the Black Stars or not. And that never came, unfortunately. So it's not like I had a choice. It just, life was just like that. That's how it went, and there's nothing we can change. So please don't think that I did not want to play for the Black Stars. It would have been an honor, but it did not turn that way because there was no interest expressed from the GFA side.
Two other stories now, where 16 halls of the University of Ghana will this year be competing in 4 sporting events from January 25th to February 17th. Now, in the midst of COVID-19, the Sports Directorate of Legon have been innovative and are going virtually. Henry Nisaki, who's the head coach, has been explaining the concept behind this year's University of Ghana virtual Interhall Games.
The virtual Interhall Games at the University of Ghana, it has become necessary because of the directive from the president not to have sports, and also from the Pro-Vice Chancellor, University of Ghana, not to engage in any extracurricular activity. The games we participated in are hockey, we started yesterday. Basketball will be joining, volleyball, handball, and we'll be climaxing it with football. So 5 disciplines will be participated in this year's virtual inter-hall games.
Well, when you say virtual, what do you mean? What format is it taking place, and how is it going to be organized?
Yes, it's a purely online activity. All you need is your Twitter accounts, and you follow the Sports Directorate University of Ghana Twitter page, and then you are good to go. So all we do is to vote. We put up the matches for the day. As pertains on the fixtures, it's a knockout competition. So you go and vote for the hall of your choice, and then your vote is counted in percentage terms. At the close of day, 5 p.m., we start from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At close of day, the hall with the most votes wins the match.
Okay. Well, that was recorded earlier today on the AM show, but it's been just about 24 hours since Chelsea or former Chelsea coach Frank Lampard got the sack, and the search for the new coach has been on. And we did say that Thomas Tuchel was close to the job yesterday. Now, reports coming in this morning is that he is currently flying from Paris to London to ensure that he will be taking charge of his first training session this afternoon. And reports of the contract are that he will be signing an 18-month deal with an option of extending by 1 year by both parties. Well, that's how we'll be wrapping up the sports here. You can follow us at Joy Sports GH on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter to get the latest in the world of sports. My name is Oreko Wampofo, and the news continues right after this.
To our top story now, the Supreme Court has served notice it won't hesitate to dismiss John Mahama's election petition should his legal team fail to abide by the court's orders. Now, this was after a member of the team, Tony Letha, informed the court they had opted not to file the witness statements as ordered by the court due to pending applications they had filed. Now, Mr. Mahama is in court seeking to set aside the December 7 election results. The trial was to take off today as the court ordered the parties in the case to file their witness statements before the hearing. But Mr. Letha explained to the court this morning why they failed to do so.
Well, may I respectfully crave your indulgence, if I may, to kindly stand the matter down a few minutes for Mr. Chikata. He's the lead counsel. He's prepared to argue this case. But he tried to get in touch with me. I believe he's held up. Very respectfully, man.
And so that is Tony Letha's explanation as to why they failed to comply with the orders of the court. Subsequently, the court ruled that they should file their witness statement by close of day tomorrow for the hearing to begin on Thursday. Now, the lawyers reacted to the court's ruling today. Let's first start with a spokesperson for the legal team of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Frank Davis.
But this has been occasioned by the intransigence of our colleague lawyers for the petitioner. I must say that as practitioners of the Supreme Court and as lawyers who attend to court regularly, we need to exercise a little bit of restraint in the choice of our language. It's very important because at all material times we are officers of the court. It's unfortunate the language used by my good friend Tony Letha this morning, it was a bit offensive. To say that an application before the court has been predetermined, to say the very least, rather unfortunate, coming from my good friend, of course, and a very senior member of the bar. But the court did not take kindly to that. As it is now, the court has been gracious and very lenient to the petitioner, because they've been given another opportunity to rectify the wrong. The petitioner has been ordered to file his witness statements by close of day.
Let's now take the reaction of lawyers for the petitioner, John Mahama. Dominic Ayenes spoke to the media.
Of January.
Our disappointment with respect to the language used this morning by a senior member of the bar and former president of the Greater Accra Regional Bar, Mr. Frank Davis. The language that he employed this morning is unacceptable in describing the actions of petitioners' lawyers as theatricals, in describing us as persons who intend to be intransigent and disobedient to orders of the court. I am sure that Frank Davis knows, Mr. Frank Davis knows, that all the applications that we have brought are within the framework of the law. You are journalists. Please do a bit of research. Read CI 99 and please tell us where in CI 99 it is said that you cannot bring an application for stay of proceedings. Tell us where in CI 99 it is said that you cannot bring an application for interrogatories. And tell us where in CI 99 it is stated that as a petitioner you cannot bring any interlocutory application before the court. These are all mechanisms that legal practitioners employ.
And of course, we bring you some more analysis on this court proceedings in our subsequent programs. Becky standing by with Showbiz.
Away from that, as tribute keeps pouring in to honor the memory of former President Jerry John Rawlings, actor and politician John Dumelo has also added his voice. Here is his fondest memories of the late statesman.
Before we entered the foyer, I was looking at some of his pictures and I realized that, you know, indeed he was a great man. I mean, the pictures really echoed the fact that he was a man of the people, you know, helping farmers, helping the railway workers, helping people in general, people who are, for lack of a better expression, down there. And so I realized he was really a great man, and Ghana has really lost a great person.
Quickly, what were the memories you have growing up of Mr. Rawlings?
Well, I mean, we all loved the fact that he would come to, you know, his military parade in his military dress, and how stern he looked and how charismatic he was. And I think that is what people loved about him. I mean, for lack of a better word, I think he was a no-nonsense man. And that's what we need in Ghana, you know, in our Ghanaian leaders.
Management of gospel musician Joyce Blessings has reacted to the alleged prophecy, which included an order from prophetess Cecilia Marfo to the musician to return to her husband. Speaking on Hit FM, Raymond Kumsen assured that at the right time, they will address the issue.
The moment, she is going through a lot. I can assure her fans that she's strong. You know, she's a strong woman. So she's strong. We are still believing in God, but at the right time, we will respond. At the moment, we are not ready to respond to any question with regards to that incident, honestly speaking. So I quickly want to draw that line.
Were you, as management, were you disappointed to see that on the...
In a general context, I think that as professionals as we are, we've all been in this game for over decades. If one artist is on the platform and is not done performing, and another artist just
jumps on
it and take a microphone from the performing artist on the stage, I think it is something that everybody should
frown upon.
Okay. We should all discourage that attitude. It's not so professional. In a general context. But I don't want to speak to the issue at the moment.
Is this something that you want to try in court?
I don't want to speak to the issue at the moment.
Orlando, we end showbiz here on Joy News today. Hello to you.
Thank you very much, Becky, for bringing us showbiz. That was an interesting story. We'll see how that pans out and what actions the management will be taking. But that's our show for today. Many thanks for your company. You find more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Good afternoon.